the next tool that we're going to be discussing is the weekly planning process. Weekly planning process. The weekly planning, I said this earlier and I'm going to remind you here, and that is that having a life of excellence, not necessarily perfection, but excellence doesn't happen by accident. If you go into a restaurant, for example, a franchised restaurant, and the colors look nice and the food tastes consistently good and this and that, that doesn't happen by accident. Somebody studied it. There's a store that I think is just brilliant, IKEA, and it's all around the world. You guys been to IKEA? IKEA? Have you noticed how it seems like it's confusing and it goes on forever and you don't know how to get out? Did you guys notice that? Do you think that that happened by accident or on purpose? It's completely on purpose. It's so brilliant. Whoever engineered the landscape of IKEA, basically everybody who goes into the store has to see the entire store before they can get out. Whereas, I'll give you another example, like a Target or Sears or Zellers or some of the stores that you might be familiar with, where everything's organized perfectly in rows. You go to the row that you want to get your stuff, and you come back and you buy it. You buy nothing else. In IKEA, you come out with a painting, you come out with a plant, you come out with a carpet. You saw everything, and it increases their sales. Here's another thing, actually, that's done on purpose, and a lot of people don't understand it, is... on the topic of business anyway. You know those carts that they have, the hand carts? When you go into a store, sometimes they give you like a hand cart. What'll happen is that people will fill up their cart to the point where they can't carry it anymore, and then they won't buy anything else because they can't carry it anymore. So they're actually blocking they're blocking themselves from making more money. And even more foolish than that are people that don't provide carts for their customers. So the person is going around basically only buying the things that they can carry in their hands. And I've seen people go into some supermarkets and they're carrying, I've been there, I'm carrying 4 things I'm holding and I want to get some milk but I just don't have any extra hands and they didn't provide me with any carts. Right? And there's nothing available to me, or the carts are outside the store at the door when I don't even need it. The cart should be in the middle of the store, right when I get 3 items, then I put it in. There's a store, Chapters, right? Many you're familiar with. Chapters is a bookstore, and they did something so brilliant, and I've actually read it in business books, and I've seen it implemented at Chapters. They have not a cart, because a cart can get heavy. What they have is a mesh bag. Have you guys seen that mesh bag? Okay. This is just seeing the mesh bag. Brothers haven't seen it. They have a mesh bag that you can hook onto your shoulder. And it's in strategic locations inside the store, not at the door. And while you're shopping, if they see you with 2-3 books, one of their customer service representatives will come up to you and say, would you like a mesh bag to carry your books? Because the whole thing that I just mentioned, right? Perfection doesn't happen by accident. That's not by accident that they're doing that. Somebody has studied this, and they know that if they give you the mesh bag, your purchase will increase. You will actually, because the bag is so big, you want to fill it up, right? You guys are all into completion. Let me fill this bag, and let me complete it. Okay? Anyways, that was just on the point of doing things. It doesn't happen by accident. Franchising, I went to Medina, and I love Medina. Medina, the city of the Prophet ﷺ, and there are franchised businesses. And there are mom and pop businesses. Mom and pop businesses, the reason they're called mom and pop businesses is because they do things inconsistently. If they did it consistently, it would be like a franchise. So what makes a franchise is basically this. This is all it is. This is the perfection in the franchise is, this should be written in gold. Be ready to write this down. Checklists. Checklists. What a checklist is basically, if it's going to be franchised, every time they come into a room, let's take this room for example, right here. Every time at a hotel, they'll say the carpet has to be this carpet. The colors have to be this color. The lighting has to be on the sidewall. And they have a checklist of everything that needs to be in every single room. and then it becomes a franchised operation. Versus a mom and pop shop, they're like, oh, they got some discounts on some chairs, so they got this type of chair, and in another room they got another type of chair, and the colors are mismatched, and as soon as you walk in, you see the inconsistency, and you're like, oh, it's a mom and pop shop. And you don't feel that inconsistency. People don't like inconsistency, and they prefer to go back to a place where they can keep going again and again. It's all about the checklists. So checklists, kind of like a time management technique. If I'm traveling, every time I travel, I'm packing the same things. So I have a checklist of what I need to take. I don't have to keep thinking about it. It's automated. I have it as a note on my phone. So I'm traveling. It's called packing on the go. And I might have trips that are 3 days and trips where it's like 1 week because the packing will differ. And all I do is I go to that checklist. I'm consistent. I don't forget things. Because I'm just like, it's been done once, and if I ever did forget something, I'll just add it to the list. It won't happen again. And sometimes right before I go to the door, if you've ever gone to the door and you're like, am I forgetting something? And mine is saying forget. You need to forget? Okay, let me help you forget something. Right? Remember back to the no smoking sign. Mine doesn't process negative. It'll only focus on that things. I would say, if instead of asking yourself that question, am I forgetting something? Ask yourself this question. Is there something that I need to remember? Is there something that I need to remember? Another great question. And then you'll remember it. You'll focus on remembering. The mind will say, yes, you need to remember to take your toothbrush. And then you're like, that's awesome. Okay. Is there something I need to remember? Okay. So now, coming to this list, when you were younger, your parents reminded you, and they held you accountable. You had like that structure. When you got a little older, usually people gain weight or they lose control in universities. Or they lose a lot of weight in university because there's no parent feeding them. Right? So it'll be one of the two. Either they've gotten freedom and then they lose control. And the sister was saying when people get married, they gain weight. It's like the parents aren't controlling it. It's not structured anymore. So what you need to do is to get into structure. And you need to automate it as much as you can. As I said, it would be awesome for this weekly planning to do it with a life coach. Meaning that it's now automated. You make a decision when you're conscious to get in contact with a life trainer, or as we were talking about, for your body, like a physical trainer. But then every week you're going back through this whole list. I'm going to go through the list, and it's just academic information until you implement it. Once you start implementing and making it a part of your life, inshallah ta'ala, then it really comes alive and then you really see the true benefit of it. So step number 1. Step number 1, before you start brain dumping and writing down the things that you need to do for the upcoming week, firstly, you need to focus on where are you traveling to. Again, back to that Chicago scenario, I don't just like call a cab and say, oh, I need a cab. No, first I need to know, like, why do I need a cab? I need to get to such and such a destination. So you got a vision for your point B, where you're ultimately trying to go. And then that gives you every week a reminder of what you're trying to achieve. Sometimes people, they'll go for years and years, and they'll arrive somewhere and their kids have grown up. SubhanAllah, there's like a story, I forget where the story came from, but it's like a father that was so busy taking care of his business and so on that he like neglected his child. And by the time he was like in a retirement home, and now he has time to spend with his child, what do you think the child's doing now? He's too busy in his business to spend time with his father in the retirement home. And so the cycle continues. Okay, but that's someone losing focus. It's like, and why did they build their business? Like, to provide for my family so they'll feel loved. But this person went off track. Okay, so you want to get in touch with your ultimate vision and your ultimate purpose. What's the purpose of your life? What are you actually trying to do here? Okay, your purpose of life statement. Some of these things are coming from the Master Your Emotions event, but a purpose of life statement. I remember once I was in Hajj, and I know my purpose of life. It's very clear. I'll be like, the purpose of life is to be a leader, to love whatever I do, and to, and so on. So that's my purpose of life statement. And then, I asked a brother, what's your purpose of life? And then he thought about it, and he said honestly, and I love this brother for Allah. He said, to work for the sake of Allah part-time. He was very honest, because that's, that is, he's like, the purpose of my life is, live my life, and part-time I will, occasionally volunteer for a couple of things. And he felt really bad. He said it honestly, but he's like, man, that's a junky purpose of life. But at least it gives him some honesty. He can step back, and that's why I like honesty. I like the ugly statements that really shake a person and make them change things around. Just putting up like a mask doesn't really help anything. Okay, so that's what the purpose of life statement is. Your primary questions. So we've been talking about questions earlier. What are some great questions you can start asking yourself? Or primary questions are like really important, huge questions in your life. How can I come closer to Allah this week, for example? How can I fulfill my ultimate destiny? How can I leave a legacy? If this was the last week of my life, would I be happy with how I'm going to spend it? And so on. Another great question, by the way, is, for people with children, or when you get to that, inshallah ta'ala, when you have children, I would say that if my child was to die today, would I regret how I spent the day or not? Right? You know how some people say, like, there's this woman. You can just keep it down. Stop. There was this woman. It's just a book a story I was reading in one of these called the Chicken Soup for the Soul books, and she was saying that one day she came home and she got into a fight with her dad, and she said, "Dad, I hate you," and slammed the door. Basically, went into her room, and her father died that day. And she said, like, I never wished that would be the relationship and that would be the final words that I would say to my dad before he died. Right? So I read that story and I said to myself, I never want to live a day where I'm going to come at the end of the day and if anything happened, I had said, I wish I had spent more time or I'd focused or I'd done something differently. So that at the end of the day, there's no regrets. Anyways, that's like a question, not necessarily a primary question, but it's another question that I found to be useful. So you reconnect with the questions and you start asking yourself a question. Maybe you got like a checklist of questions. You can again pull out the checklist, and so you have some consistent moving forward. And then your values and rules. Again, that's something else from the Master Your Emotions event, but values and rules are basically what do you value most. So things like I value integrity. How can you be in integrity this upcoming week? And you'll say, for example, if I promise I'm going to do something, then I'm going to do it. For example, that's just giving you an idea of what values and rules are. The step number 2 is to embody. Okay, actually, let me just give you like 2 minutes. 2 minutes to just experience this step number 1. So reconnect with your ultimate vision. So it says what's your ultimate vision? Get another picture of that. Reconnect with your ultimate purpose. So just get it. What's some purpose of life? Your purpose of life statement. Do it. Right now, all we've done here is we've done it like just one slice. But you might say, what's your vision for your whole life? Right? So you might not have actually done that activity, but in general, just have an idea of. You can do it for your career and business for now. Let's say you're planning your week for your business. You can just do it since you've done that activity based on business. But you kind of want like a vision for all of the slices of life. Okay? So you got your ultimate vision. You're looking at your ultimate purpose. Okay, so ultimate vision, let's say the person is, to win the Nobel Prize. Ultimate purpose is so that, cancer is cured. Purpose of life, my purpose of life is to eradicate cancer, for example, or be the cause of, no one having to suffer from this disease anymore. And then primary questions: how can I move my research forward this week, for example, as a question. And then your values and rules. Values might be I value, for example, hard work, or smart work. So a person doing if that's their value, then they start working smartly. I value working in a team. And then the rules for that would be like, okay, I'm going to check up on my team members and so on. So the next one, step number 2, is you want to embody your roles, goals, and resources. So this is the Spectacular 7, which you've done. And now you're coming to, like, say we did the business and career and you did like another slice. Inshallah ta'ala, again, you want to do it for all slices of your life, even slices that I haven't mentioned that might be important to you. For example, if you want to slice specific, if you're memorizing Quran and you want to slice on that. If, for example, whatever it is, add your own slices. So what would, your Spectacular 7, if you have like a little journal and you wrote it all down nicely, you would say, well, my ultimate vision, as a husband is this. And these are my roles. I'm the stud muffin, and I like smile and stuff like that. And these are my resources, and I remind myself of what my 1 year goals are, and and my quarterly goals. And then I go to the next role and resource. So it'd be like in the business career. So I'd say like, well, my ultimate vision is this, and my purpose is that. And these are my roles. I'm the wolf or whatever, the Batman, something like that. And then you go to your resources. I have all these resources. And then what's my 1 year goal? What are my quarterly goals? And you go to the next slice. So you do this about 7 times. As you can see, it takes time, right? You sit down and you go through each one. But remember back when I said that I spent 2 weeks doing these spectacular sevens? And I said to myself, who spends this much time? And the answer is nobody. Nobody spends time. And that's why you need commitment. You need maybe like a coach beside you or a mentor. Someone's like working with you, because you might fall back and not do everything that you need to do. But once you put in this effort, like spending on a Monday or a Tuesday 2 hours in the beginning to organize the whole week, guaranteed you'll get more done than 6 weeks of the upcoming weeks. Just because you spent like 2 hours on this. But you'll just be zooming forward. You'll get things like knocked out, knocked out, knocked out, knocked out. For me, I'm not like the best example of this, but you'll have people come and ask me, how do I get so much done? Right? Do you wonder that? Do you think that's the case? All the answer is just planning. That's just it. You have the correct tool, and you just move forward with it. No hesitation. You just get it done. And this is how it's done. And that's why so much gets done, because you just have like proper strategies in place to get it done. Okay, so you want to step into each role, see and hear yourself in that role, remind yourself of your 1 year goals, and then if you have a life wheel, just quickly score yourself. So you've gone through each, then you look at your life wheel and quickly score yourself. You'll say, well, husband and wife, for example, last week it was a 1 out of 10. This week it's because I made like last week some good moves, alhamdulillah, now it's like at an 8 out of 10. And I'm balanced in the family category. So this week I'm going to focus more on health. And obviously you're still taking care of that slice. It's 8 out of 10. And now you'd say like, this week I want to focus on health, and I want to focus on, let's suppose, for example, social life. I'm going to go out with my friends on a day, and that's planned and it's on purpose. Meaning that I'm going to, have a dinner party, invite people, or, organize something. And then, which takes you to the next one. So step number 3 is where you create RPM plans for an outstanding week. So these are RPM plans, like what we said, which is focusing on the results. What do I actually want to achieve with regards to my social life? I gave you examples of RPM plans where it was the to-do list that came first, and then the RPM plan came second. But now, once you get rid of all these tiny, tedious things that are already in your life, and you flatten things out, you can start with the RPM results. So my result is, I want to increase my health, for example, and I don't have a to-do list. I can proactively decide what I want to do. Nothing is, telling me I have to do this or I have to do that. I can move my life forward in the way that I want. So now that I know what my ultimate vision is, I know what my roles are, I know what my 1 year goals are, and I got a whole bunch of quarterly goals that I'm dealing with. They're all goals. They're all the things I want to do and want to achieve. Now I can start making RPM plans based on that. Based on that. So there was something like the sister said, like the first part of this event was talking about managing what you're already dealing with, okay? And now we're talking about living your life based on your goals. After you've pancaked things out and canceled and deleted other things, and stuff isn't bothering you anymore, and your mind is clear and there's a breeze going through it, now every week you're presenting your goals forward and making RPM plans for it. So I would take, for example, I'd open my journal and see my role is to make, let's suppose, X amount of money. And then I would say, and then my quarterly goal would be, let's suppose, quarterly goal is to make, just for the sake of argument, $100,000 in 3 months. $100,000 in 3 months. Now in RPM, the goal is, this is financial, you'd say the result is $100,000 by, this date. What's the purpose? Why would I want it? What would I be willing to cross the platform for that? And then you say, perfect, that's deep. When I say the platform thing, now I can't bluff it. Because I'm not going to walk across a plank just for a bluff. Right? It has to be something serious. And so I would say something like, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave me these gifts, not so I could be stingy and greedy with it for myself, but so that I could provide services to the people. And I'd be willing to, give my life for something like that. Because once you're making that money, you're making the money because you're providing value to the people. And if you just have like a certain amount of money and you just take a little bit of money and then you're like, that's it, I'm good, see you guys later, I could care less about training you guys, I could care less about sharing anything with you, right? That's selfish and that's not fulfilling a person's purpose. Anyway, so the purpose is there, then the massive action plan. This is when you start writing it down. So let's go. Step 3. Create RPM plans for an outstanding week. So number 1, review the top 10 sweet memory moments from last week. So this is your chance that the week has just passed, and if you live your life with like this weekly planning, every day is gonna be filled with such amazing things. Let's look, for example, in these last 2 days. What are some sweet memories? Let's count like 10 of them. Who would like to share something sweet that happened? Really nice. Something really nice and sweet. If you don't exercise a muscle, it becomes flabby. That's why your brains are hesitant. Thankfulness is a flabby muscle for many people. If I told you, does anybody have any complaints? No. Right? Because that's a muscle we exercise a lot. It's the complaint muscle. So now we're talking about thankfulness muscle, yes? Okay, so the brain breeze. If you felt it during, the event, there was like a breeze that went through your head. Alhamdulillah, that was sweet. Yeah? Somebody else? Yes? Okay, the life wheel and knowing which one what? Okay, knowing which one is the weakness, that was like a happy memory. Yes, Hazan? What's that? Waking up as a Muslim, alhamdulillah. I'll tell you, there's actually one thing that was really happy for me, I like a sweet memory, is seeing you guys nervous because of the recording. It was sweet for me because I'm always nervous when I'm recording, but when I saw you guys nervous, Hasnain's like shaking in the beginning and stuff like that, I'm like, I was trying to calm you guys down. Normally I get nervous on the camera, I start talking faster and I like freeze up and stuff like that. Even though I talk all the time, shut off the camera and I'll be like all calm and relaxed. But then alhamdulillah, it made me calm after seeing you guys so tense. Alhamdulillah, I benefited from it. Yes, from the sisters? Yes? Yeah. Okay, so seeing that everybody's messed up just like you, which is correct. Exactly what I said. We're all scared of the camera. There's nobody's like, I'm confident I'll do it. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's the same. Yeah. Somebody else? Sweet memories? Was there a problem with the temperature in the room? For me, there's like no problem. So, but we forget about stuff like that. Say alhamdulillah that we had nice temperature. Alhamdulillah that we had like a nice group here, right? Not too many, not too less. It was just kind of like nice and calm and sweet, right? Alhamdulillah, there was nobody like other participants in this hotel walking back and forth and confusing us. I was afraid that they'd start playing music outside and then like, we wouldn't be able to stop them and stuff like that. But alhamdulillah, that never happened. You had water right in front of you to pour and drink, and the cups are so beautiful and nice. What else? Yes? The monkey manager, when I did that monkey sound, you got like really happy. That was a happy memory. I'm happy they have valet service outside. Like here are the keys, and I just walk in. I love that. Right? At a Maghrib classes, I wish they could implement this. If I arrive, there's a student waiting. I was like, here are the keys, and I just walk in. But no, in Ottawa specifically, I have to park the car myself. Yeah, somebody else? Happy memories? Okay, as you notice, this was just the last, couple of hours that we're talking about. And look at the happiness that comes. Even if you wake up at like 10 o'clock in the morning and you do this activity, what are 10 happy memories from this, 10 a.m. Since Fajr till now, just like 4 hours or something, you would, fill it up. It's a muscle that, you won't stop being thankful. Alhamdulillah for this, alhamdulillah for that, alhamdulillah for this, alhamdulillah. And then you start getting in the habit of always finding things to be thankful to Allah. So you're reviewing the top 10 sweet memories from the last week. Then you make notes of the 10 things that didn't get done. So in your RPM plan, there will be things that didn't get done. Make note of it again. So, for example, back to Mahmoud when he was saying that, the documents for his father. As soon as I saw that, I said this is something that's going to be procrastinated, and not only is it going to be procrastinated, it has already been procrastinated, meaning that it was due long time ago. Correct? Yeah. It was due long time ago, and it's coming back, and it's still going to be delayed. So you'd write down, you don't forget about stuff like that. It's not every week you just make up new stuff. It's like you're bringing in the old stuff that really does need to get done. So for example, taxes, things related to taxes. Now, tax season has started, so you don't have to wait till the end. You have some time now. It's February. You can start organizing and saving some money on it. So writing down the 10 things that didn't get done, and then you just dump everything else that needs to get done. You have your the roles and your goals and stuff like that. So you're looking at that and see what needs to get done with relation to setting up your business, what needs to get done with the relationship to, educating your children, or what needs to get done in order for you to get married more sooner or something like that, whatever it is for you. And then it says number 4 is chunk similar items together. So what that means is that you take items that are related, kind of like what we did with Mahmoud, and then say, well, these things are related to my health. Let's make an RPM plan for this. These things are related to, my family. I'll make an RPM plan for that. It's been my experience in doing a weekly plan. Sometimes your RPM plans will get very large because it's dealing with the whole week. So you might want to break them down. You don't have to have one RPM. You can have as many as you want. So 4 or 5 of them. The result is increase my health. The result is take care of the family, take care of in-laws. They might be like 4 different RPM plans, and it's for the whole week. And then you're going to, as it says, number 5, block time during the week to deal with each RPM plan. So when the sister said, what about the small, tedious, annoying things? You want to look at, are you going to delete it? And the answer is no, you might actually have to do it, or maybe at a later date you have to do it. Back to the 6 Ds. Do you delete it? Do you deter it so it doesn't bother you anymore? Do you date it? Put it into the future, or put it into a drawer? Obviously your calendar is there, so you're taking care of that. And if you do need to do it, sometimes while you're doing this plan, can you get it done in 2 minutes or less, or 3 minutes or less? Yes. Okay, just do it right then and there. If it really is 2 minutes or less, it might be just calling someone, leaving a voicemail, and you're finished. And you can do that while you're planning this. So you've gone through it, and you've chunked similar stuff and blocked during the week. So if I'm during the week, so it'll say, for example, if I'm dealing with health issues, for example, going to a gym or so on, I'll say from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. in the afternoon, that is my RPM dealing with health. So I'll go grocery shopping, for example. I'll go to the gym, and I'll go for a walk or just do some visualization. That's kind of like health related too. So that time has been blocked. During that blocked time, I pull out my RPM and just totally focus on that. Shut off the phone, shut off whatever, and just focus. Something I've done for my email as well. Any email that comes with my name on it, in any way, either my email or my name, I have a filter that sends it to archives. So that if I ever need my email, the inbox has nothing that has nothing of importance to me. Sometimes the bulk mails get past these filters, so I can't really block them, right? And I know that if it's in the inbox, it's a bulk mail, and it's not worth even bothering. So I can, if I need to use my email, I won't open my email and someone says, "I hate you. Open this right now and read it," right? And then that's going to throw you off. So I put these filters so that when I go to my email, if I have to do some work and focus work, I just focus right on that work, and then later I'll go to the archives and see that, oh, here are some emails that I need to respond to, and so on. So that doesn't distract me. I'll just get my email done without having to read emails or be tempted to read emails. Can money buy happiness? Who would like to answer that question? Can money buy happiness? Who would like to answer? Yes? No. Does anybody say yes? Does everybody say no, by the way? How many people agree with her? No, it cannot. It's going to be no or yes. Or are you undecided? What about yes? Anybody say yes? Yes? Okay, good job. Anybody else? Yes? Somebody? Money can buy happiness? Okay. Here's the thing. The answer is yes and no, obviously. Right? Can money buy happiness? Here's how money can buy happiness. If you buy, for example, you have some money and you go and use the money to eat at a restaurant. Does that bring happiness? Are you sure? Yeah, it brings temporary happiness. Let's be honest. Like, don't just diss money. It's the money's fault. And the money, if the money could talk, it would say, "Dude, don't blame me. Don't blame me. You're the one with the problem." Like, okay, so we're going to paper and we're saying it's all your fault. You're greedy. You're evil. No. It's just paper, and it's just digits on a screen. It's just something you're swiping. Okay, so take it easy on the money. Okay. It's all you. So can it buy happiness? The answer is yes, temporary happiness. So when you eat a meal, they'll calculate how long are you happy with that meal. Sometimes you're happy with the meal halfway through the meal, then you start getting annoyed. They're like, oh, this is a fattening meal and I shouldn't be eating it. So then it starts turning into guilt. Okay, so it can buy you happiness for halfway through the meal, like in general. Or maybe a little bit after, but then it's soon forgotten and gone. Here's where money can buy you happiness: if you spend your money on experiences. Okay? If you spend your money on experiences. Meaning, like, all your money, you got $50,000 and you spent that to climb Mount Everest. It costs like $50,000. There's like these trail groups that basically, for $50,000, they'll take you to the top of Mount Everest. Will you forget that moment? Probably not. And it'll probably be a metaphor for like the rest of your life. And if it was a happy experience, alhamdulillah, can money buy happiness? It can through memories. Okay, through experiences and memories. And money is, you can use that money to go to space. That woman that spent like $10 million or something like that, right? Right? She opened like, she's Canadian, isn't she? Something like that. But I think she's Canadian Iranian or something like that. Something like that. Anyways, so she went to the moon. Did money buy happiness in that case? And the answer is, yeah, it did. $10 million worth. She got an experience that she'll never forget. So the reason that I'm saying this is your experiences all day, you don't have to go to the moon to experience something beautiful. All around you are beautiful experiences. That's the point about remembering the happy memories. Not always jumping from problem to goal, actually spending time to enjoy your goals. So you've actually achieved something, just have this savoring moment where you just like, that was nice. And just go back and you'll savor it by asking yourself questions of, what am I thankful to Allah for in regards to such and such? Or what did I love the most about this? Okay, so then step number 4 after that, make every day a masterpiece. There's 2 things. Basically, you need to kick off the momentum for the day. This is the question that I would ask at the beginning of the day. What are 2 baby steps that will bring me closer to my ultimate destination? What are 2 baby steps that I can do today that will bring me closer to my ultimate destination? So I've asked you guys, what's the first thing that you do when you get to work? And almost everybody checks email first, right? They sit on the computer, they plop down, they're drinking their coffee, and they click on their email. Right? And then life begins. Maybe 3 hours later, you kind of like your brain starts to form. But before that, it was just mush. This is what I would do. If I'm starting off, the first program that I open up is like an RPM. It can be on Word document, or it can be in an Excel sheet, or whatever it is. It's a Word document. And then I ask myself the question, what are 2, and I don't even need a computer for this, what are 2 baby steps that I can do today to bring me closer to ultimate destination? And I'll write down, one of them is to, register company so-and-so, or number 2 is to send an email for so-and-so to schedule the editing of a book, or editing of a binder, or something like that. How long does that take? So registering the company might be, calling the bank and saying, I need to make an appointment with, this person, and what time are they available? Oh, you can come in anytime. Okay, great. How long will it take? About half an hour. Okay, great. What documents do I need? You'll need to bring your passport. You need to bring, such and such. Photo ID. Okay, great. And it's set for, say, 3 p.m. in the afternoon. That's good. It's going to take half an hour, 3 to 3:30. What about the sending out an email? How long does that email take? Takes 5 minutes. So I go to my email, nothing's distracting me, everything's in archives, compose email, and I send out to the email. The email is already recorded by Google, and then it says, Assalamu alaikum, look, I'm doing this binder. I'd love it if you could edit it. Can you confirm for me today, inshallah ta'ala, if you're able to edit it by such and such a date? And how much will it cost? Email sent. Now, monkeys on their back, they have to reply, and it's already scheduled. You just have to read it whenever it comes. I've taken 2 baby steps. How long did that take? Even to explain it right, it didn't even take that long, but how long did it take? 10 minutes, and the appointment is 30 minutes. So you're talking about 40 minutes, and I've made massive progress. I've had massive progress because it's not how much you do, it's the quality of what you're doing. Okay? It's not how much you do. So back, and I rewind to the beginning of the seminar, I said, there will be like Muslim teachers that teach much more than me. They teach 9 to 5 every day and evenings and weekends, yet they're not effective. Because it's not what they're doing, but it's more of the quality and what's going on, how they organize those classes and so on. So that same person working, instead of trying to teach this person one thing, I'll give you an example. For Muslim speakers and stuff, if you try answering fatwa questions via email, it's very inefficient because to type up the answer takes like 45 minutes. And the next person it's like giving halakas to individuals. So every time you answer a question, the next person will come and ask the same question. And you have to type it up again or go and pull it out of your archives. And then that takes forever. So it's so inefficient. So it just needs the person to be more effective. So that's what point number 1 is. In step number 4, every day should be a masterpiece. Choose 2 deliverables or 2 decisions that you're going to make each day. 2 deliverables so profound that it will only get those 2 things done. That if you only got those 2 things done that day, you could write that day down in history as a day well spent. Okay, so what that means is you'll do 2 major things, right? I call them baby steps. So usually they're not baby. It's a baby, just kind of like it seems small, but they're actually very profound baby steps. And if you looked back at that day, you could say that my life changed on that day. That was the day I registered my company. That's the day I got this seminar scheduled, for example. It actually changes one's, by about Tuesday, Wednesday, you have nothing else to do. You can go get a massage or something like that on Thursday and just take the whole day off because you really did work hard. Or not hard, but rather smart. I put the word there, deliverables. Deliverables is different than what are you going to work on today. If you say, if you gathered your employees together and you said to them, what are we going to work on today? What does that mean? It means that at the end of the day, we will have no results. We would have worked on something leading to a result. But if you say to your employees, by the end of the day, what will you deliver? They're like, what are you talking about, deliver? We can work on it. But what are you talking about with deliver? That means that there's some responsibility to get something done. That freaks employees out. Back to the sister that he wants an assignment. You actually have to do some work, right? That's a deliverable. Versus, can you, work on this? Yeah, I can work on that. Right? Take an extra long lunch break and stuff like that. I'm working on it. So what I'm talking about is things delivered. Meaning results done. Not things being worked on, but things done. And so typically the key people working around me and surrounding me, I have nothing to do with their hours that they work. Typically. Why? Because we don't care about the hours, we care about things being delivered. So you can take as less time as you want or as more time as you want, whatever it is, at the end of the day the job needs to get done. And once people, it's a different standard. I'm not paying for their hours, I'm paying for them to get results. Even if that person delegated everything and then went on vacation and all the work got done, I don't care. I'm happy for them, in fact, if they did that. Like, that's smart. That they were able to, use their job and just get everything done, and they're an amazing delegate. Okay, and then the other thing is anticipate what could go wrong and set up a success strategy to resolve it from now. Basically, to be flexible in your behavior. One of our teachers, it's called like behavioral flexibility. If, for example, bring this in here. You want to go from A to B and then you have like C. Okay, you want to go from A to B. So the straightest point would just be going from here to here, and you're there, which was kind of like as simple as we told Hasnain, you know what, at the break time, go from point A to point B. That would be go and register your company or sign up for an email software program. A to B. What happened though was Hasnain was blocked. What was the block in this case? Internet connection went down. Has that ever happened to you before? You've been someplace, internet connection went down? What did you do? You tried going to another part of the building to get internet connection, which is what Hasnain did. So he got blocked here, but he's still trying to get to B, so he didn't just give up. So typically, just like a person would be like, I give up. I have found when people are kind of like, they search for good excuses. Like really good. You hire an employee and they're like, they wait until there's a really good excuse that's going to get them off the hook. And they're like, you know why this didn't get done? Because the economy's in a really bad state. Look, it's on CNN. Right? And they're like, that's an excellent excuse. That's a really good one. It's like you're a weasel. And you're very creative and intelligent and wise in coming up with creative excuses. I say that because that's what I do. If I want to make an excuse, I can make it sound really good. Right? And that's what I was saying to the coach. Remember I said one coach, I could weasel out of anything. And I can make it sound so convincing as to why it didn't happen. And he'd be like, yeah, no problem, whatever. And I didn't like people like that I could weasel out. I wanted someone to hold me accountable. And that was the second coach where he read this and he said, I'm not accepting any excuse. If you don't do it, I could care less. So he basically shut down any blame, and I couldn't blame him. So I'd have to find a different way, and I actually do it. So what did Hasnain do? So he got blocked at M, so that he still needs to get to B, so he's looking for another. So he went down into the lobby or went somewhere else, and then he got blocked there as well. What needs to happen? But interestingly, the sister had internet access, Hasnain didn't. What could have Hasnain done? Yes? Call his wife. Excellent. You've ever been on the highway and your GPS shuts off and stuff like that? What do? You call someone else at home with a computer in front of them and say, listen, I need to sign up for this, and I need to sign up now because I have integrity and I'm going to do it right now, so I need you to help me out. Okay? So he could have, let's suppose this got blocked, he went another area, he could have backed up a little bit and found like a different strategy and came from a different angle and gotten to his result. And people have done it before. Another thing I would have done too is you can go across the street to like another hotel. They always have like a business center, which is not Wi-Fi, it's actually set up. Do they have a business center here? Okay, they said you can't use because you're not in the hotel or something? Okay, but it's like going to another hotel or so on. There was when I was taught this lesson, the teacher was teaching us this, was saying that every time he'd go to work, he would take a different path to work. Every time, on purpose. Going and coming different path. And then one day the road was blocked. What do you think happened to him once that road was blocked and everybody was in a traffic jam? For him it was like, no big deal. It's like, I know a back road. He's at his spot. Because he's walked those paths. He built in his life flexibility, so he knows how to get to his destination. So I was learning this. This was like in Orlando, Florida, when I learned this lesson. And I was coming out of the hotel, going to get some food with my car, and I said, let me implement this. I'm going to try to find another exit from the hotel other than the exit that I normally go from. So I went around to find an exit. It was blocked. And I had to go like all the way in the back of the hotel. There was like a YMCA I'd never seen before, and a wall, and some cars on like blocks of cement, stuff like that. Like just empty air. And I'm like, this is so dumb. I'm wasting my time trying to implement this, right? And I went so far and I found an exit. It was like forever. It took me forever to find that other exit. But I found an exit and I got out and I was like, what a dumb lesson. And then I went and had dinner and on my way back. This is what happened on the way back. I'm coming back on the way back, and the hotel's coming, and then I missed the turn into the hotel. The normal turn. Now, what do you think happened? I knew that there was another entrance right there, because that was the entrance that I came from. That was my flexibility. I was blocked, but I had built in, because I had in the good times learned how to be flexible, and now in the difficult times that flexibility has served me. And then I said to myself, if I hadn't done that before dinner, what would have happened? I would have had to gone down like 3 kilometers, 3 miles down the road, do a U-turn, then come back 6 miles, do another U-turn, and then come back to the hotel and then come in. Basically, just another 20 minutes would be gone. Had I not, just spent those extra 2 minutes figuring out another exit, that Allah bless me with that. In the economic situation that people are in, they only have one way to get to B. They have a job. If they get fired, they're finished. And that's why it's so sad, too. It's because the person is completely helpless. They're like, this is their only job. You fire them and they will starve. That's it. They have no other skills. They have no other job. They're old. Every excuse that you can say, it's all built in. You blocked it. They're fired. And now they come on TV. Everybody's sad for them. What should this person be doing is preparing flexible strategies no matter what happens. So what happens in a down market? What happens in an up market? What happens if this is the case? What happens if that's the case? And now you have complete flexibility. So now there's no more fear, because you're ready for everything. So in point number 2, anticipate what could possibly go wrong this week and set up a success strategy to resolve it from now. So if, for example, you have a Quran halaqah, or even actually a better example is the health. When Noor said that I will not eat out at restaurants anymore, is it possible that if he's going to Toronto for 10 days, that he can fulfill that? Is it possible for him to fulfill? Do you think something could possibly mess him up? Okay, so so now he has okay, I have a gym routine and I'm going to Toronto for 10 days. And normally I work out, let's say, on Tuesdays and Thursdays. What could possibly go wrong? Well, I could get busy during the day. So then what will you do if you get busy? Well, if I get busy, then you'd say, for example, I have a lighter exercise routine that I can do in my hotel room with some, these resistance bands. For example, a person brings a resistance band with them, and sure enough, on the Tuesday when they're normally supposed to exercise, they get busy. And then late at night when they're thinking, man, I got busy today, exercise band dingling in front of them. And the workout routine only takes 10 minutes. And then the person just does, arms and stretches and stuff got his workout done. Because he knew that was going to happen. In fact, I hate it when people don't do that. When they don't anticipate what could go wrong. You know that something like this could have gone wrong. And so they'll come with the excuse, hey, you know what? It went wrong. Any child knows that could have possibly happened, right? So why didn't you just spend 5 minutes before figuring out what you would do when that could possibly happen, right? And that is your weekly plan. This whole weekly plan, we have it on Discover You Life as an interactive feature in audio. So I'm talking the person out and going through step by step, inshallah ta'ala. Some of you have already been Discover You Life. You may have already seen it. If you are on Discover You Life, the website, you now have this resource. Just like I've walked you through it right now, every week you don't have to just sit there with a pen and paper. You can listen to the audio and then write it out. Listen to the audio, write it out. And every week you can go and do that. It's been my experience that in the beginning, a person will plan their week. And the next week they will plan it. And by the 3rd week, they will try to shortcut it. And by the 4th week, they're finished. They will never open it again. That's just my experience. And that's why I say what's more important is a person to have a mentor. Have a life coach with them that every 2 weeks or so on, they're actually doing stuff like this with them. Going back, what are your goals? What's your vision? And then moving them forward. So even when you do get lazy, you remember that 2 months ago you'd signed up for a session, and now you have to do that session. I've done life coaching, being coached for 5 years, and it still continues. 5 years. And because it's just so beneficial, you can't, even the benefit of someone sitting in front of you and saying to you, what are your goals for this week? Just that question is worth $1,000 or more. Okay, I'll take questions now. Questions? Yes. What? Say it again. I didn't understand. Oh, money can buy happiness? Okay. Can happiness buy money? Okay. It can happen. That's kind of weird. Yeah. I'm sure it can. It's just a matter of getting an example for it. Can happiness buy money? Uh, if you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. Yeah. What? Do you have an answer for it? Yes. Go ahead. Or it depends. Like happiness, if you're saying it's a commodity that can purchase, can happiness? I don't know. It just, it's definitely a brain crash question. Yes, somebody else. Easier question. What's that? You have a question? Yes. Yeah, go ahead. But that's if you say, can happiness get you money? Then yes. That's what I'm saying. If you say get, if you change the word buy to get, yes, then for sure it can. Right? If you're happy about something and you enjoy your work, yes, it can get you money, for sure. But I don't know if it would buy. Is the word buy like important for you? Okay. Yes. You still want to call? Why don't you guys talk to him afterwards, inshallah ta'ala. All right. Someone with a real question related to this weekly planning, or something before. Hazem, what's your question that you would like to ask? Okay. Oh, just hold on. You said you stopped doing your business because it was too much stress? Okay. Okay. Okay, so I'll say what your question is and you tell me if it's correct or not. Everybody think I'm just a genius. Hazem has a question related to, he has plans to do something. And he has plans to do it, and before he actually gets it to the market, somebody else actually has been to a Live Your Dreams event of some sort and has actually done it. So Hazem, what happens? So what happens to Hazem with the little hair that he has? He pulls it, and he stresses out, and he's so mad, and he's like, "Oh no, because someone else will do it. There's no room in the market for me anymore. I'll have to scrap all the work that I've done. How can I not stress about other people's like competition?" Is that the question? No hair pulling? Okay. So, here's the thing. If you've ever gone onto the internet, you go onto Hotmail and stuff like that, and you type in your name, Muhammad, and then it's like, that name has been taken. You're like, there are other Muhammads in the world? and then you, no matter how unique the name you choose is, there's always somebody else. Correct? Right? And then you think, like, you write your dad's name and you put a 73 beside it. They're like, that's already been taken. And you're like, oh, right? All these names have been taken. And this is the thing, that as human beings, your ideas are not actually unique. Some human being has come up with it. And especially if it's just a vague idea, then for sure somebody's come up with it. It's just a matter of who implemented and who didn't. In fact, some of the people, whenever they say the first computer or the first this, they're not necessarily the first. Probably someone did it before, but they didn't maximize that idea. The idea was like kind of like said, but somebody really took it to the market and put money behind it, right? So there is room in a marketplace for two major competitors. So in any category that you're talking about in business, you will have, for example, 7-Up and Sprite. You have Coke and Pepsi. You have Honda, Toyota. You have, you name it. There will be two major competitors. One will be number one will be number two, and they'll just compete like that. So if you find a competitor, that doesn't mean that there's no more room for you anymore. Right? So in fact, between Facebook and MySpace came before Facebook, but Facebook dwarfed it. Right? dwarfed it because they did better business marketing plans than, say, MySpace, and they evolved faster, right? Anyhow, so if you find somebody in the market, take it from ask yourself the question: how can I benefit from this competition? Number one is you need to learn how to execute your plans more quickly. That's number one. So someone else is going to take it to market, especially if you're dealing in technology type of things, then someone's going to go to market way faster than you. Even once you do it, someone's going to clone you, right? So that's where proprietary, making something, just for you, but you will be cloned. And so, anyways, there's more business cycles. I'll just get a little advanced for you. Once you get cloned, what'll happen is that you'll put advanced features to your product to separate yourself. Your product will get so advanced, and people will still clone you, that the early users, the amateur users, your product is too advanced for them. So then a competitor comes and gives the basic version and has completely cut you off. And that's your life cycle. You will be cut from both sides. Okay? Just so you understand. I'm just letting you know. So don't worry about it. That's just life. The problem with people who win the lottery is they can't reproduce that. It's just a fluke. So if you go into business, what's more important than your product is being able to recognize good ideas, get them to the market, realize that within a couple of years their cycle is going to come to an end, and you've already prepared for that. You've got your next product coming up, and your next product coming up. You're not waiting for the competition to eat you. Basically, you're 2 steps ahead of the competition. They're basically following your heels, and you're providing livelihood for them because they get to clone you and stuff like that. But that's just the way life goes. Right, so you don't have to stress about it. You learn from it, and if I've explained this life cycle to you, then you might want to adopt it on other people. Start cloning other people, right? And start, and clone them, and then go 2 steps ahead of them. Let them clone you a little bit, and go back and forth like that with them. Okay, so if it's a charity, the question the sister's saying, I've been dissing research. Is that what you're saying? Okay. Thank you for your honesty. I'm dissing research as an excuse, but I would never get involved in something without researching. Okay, and what I would research is someone who's already done the research for me. That I wouldn't research it myself necessarily. I would go to, for example, what are those websites called? Like user feedback type of websites. So or rating websites. By the way, this is an awesome resource. Consumer Reports. Consumer Reports. I wanted to tell you about this earlier. It automates your buying process. So what kind of microwave is the best microwave to buy? You could never know that. What's the best, vacuum cleaner to buy? You could never know that. What's the best refrigerator? You could never know that. What's the best laptop to purchase? You don't really know that either. What's the best? It's all been tested, and it's all there, and for $20 a year, you have access to all their research. Proper research. So all I do is, if I'm going to buy, for example, laptop, I go there and I go, what's your top pick? Your Canadian product top pick. They'll say, buy laptop so-and-so. Thank you. That's it. I don't ask any questions. I go to the store. Do you have HP TouchSmart 775i? Do you have that? and then the guy's like, that's the American model, but we've got the Canadian model, which is 77B. Yeah, we got it. Okay, great. I want to buy it. That's it. That's how I do my buying. In fact, even when I purchased my this car that I have, I walked into the store, took a test drive, and I said, I'll buy it right now. And sign, thank you, and I walked out with the car. And they thought that the salesperson was awesome. They sold me in 10 minutes. And I'm like, you don't know what came before this, right? So if I make a decision, there's no hesitation. It's the best price. This is the location. What I did for my car is basically I emailed it. It's a Ford, unfortunately. but it is a really good car. I went to all these Ford companies in the city, emailed them, and I said, I know which car I want and what specs are on it. I just need the best price. Don't try to sell me on anything else. I just need the best price. What price will you give me?